Hi, this is Scott Ertl, and welcome to Designing Your Project. It's part of the 8th Floor series, Mastering Technology Skills for Teaching and Learning. And what I'm hoping to do with you in this next module is get you to the point of actually starting to lay out your project plan. Get your ideas down on paper and give yourself a plan to finish that. In the previous two modules, you've looked at kind of the puzzle pieces, the parts you need to think about. In the first little chunk of that, you got kind of that big picture and what it means to be a 21st century classroom, be a 21st century teacher, that kind of concept. And then the second little chunk of that, you went through managing your students and managing your project. And that was to get you to think about what do I need to do to accomplish this? What kind of obstacles? What sorts of goals do I need to define? How am I going to control the flow? Um, what resources are available for me and my students? What do I already know? So those were those things that you kind of think about before you get started. And hopefully you had a chance to do that in the last module and had a chance to discuss all that. In this module, what we really want to take a look at is really start to build a project plan. Building a project plan can be as grand or as simple really as you kind of need it for the project. I've given you a lot of resources, some different templates, some things to look at to get started. But the first piece I want to talk about, what should your project plan cover? Um, Really an overview, or some people call it a scope statement. Really just kind of your objective. What do I want to happen? And the example here is, what are the reasons for your project? Why are you setting this up? And then kind of in a detailed description of the results that are going to come out of that. What are your objectives that are going to come out of that? From there, we kind of branch into required work, setting up the schedule for that. And then in our case, implementing a piece of technology, what resources do I need? Who do I need for help? Do I need internet connections, tablets, cell phones? Just thinking through all the little pieces and all knowing how technology always works perfectly for us. What kind of uncertainties? What are some risks of working with that technology? And hopefully to have a plan in place to mitigate some of those. And then the last one I left up there was really just a communications plan. You'll notice in the example I have coming up, there's going to may have to be some training of your students. Show them how to use the new technologies you've done. Setting up some rules, classroom procedures, and so forth. So there's got to be some way to communicate those and have some sort of plan for that. A project scope statement. And I've got an example of this. And what the scope statement's really going to help you do in thinking through that part is to kind of help you narrow it down, get very specific with what it is you're trying to accomplish. You may have heard the term scope creep, which can happen a lot once you start getting in and start messing with it. Not that there's anything wrong with going back and kind of redefining your scope once you see how it's going to work, but that's that guiding force that kind of keeps you on path. Maybe not get it so blown out of proportion and keep you on the straight and narrow. And I've got a handful of some examples I just wanted to show you real quick. Over on our Moodle site, like I said, I've got some examples, why writing a scope statement and some how-tos. But what I did is I kind of gave you a really simplistic kind of version of a sample document. And really, you see, I just went really simple with it, but the example I was going to use was making a paperless classroom. So my objective is to do this and then setting a time frame for it. I want to get it done in that first 9 weeks of school and really implement this. Basic deliverables I need to determine what tools I'm going to use for assignments and grading and submission, student submission, and so forth. And then the communication side of it, training students on how to use all this new paperless stuff we're going to use, classroom rules that may go along with that, any new procedures and so forth that go with that. So as you can see, I kind of oversimplified it a little bit, and then just set up some basic milestones of when I kind of wanted to accomplish things. Definitely a little ambitious on my part. And then any technology requirements I need. And one of the things I kind of failed to put into mine was any people I need. You may need to have IT involved, especially if you need to install something on your machines at school and things like that. And then the last thing I kind of put on there was start thinking about somebody that you may want to do a review of your project plan when you're done. just to see if you've kind of thought through all the parts. Get some help there as you go through the project plan itself. And I mentioned in the beginning of this, there are 100 different ways to get there, and it can be as grand as, you know, going out and buying some project management software if it's this huge project. But what I found for most of the projects that I set up here, in most classroom projects, I just need really a path and almost a simple to-do list to kind of get me there. And what I tried to do for you on our site here was give you some examples. The first one was just a video I found, and I've used this method before back in the olden days, but really just doing project planning with sticky notes, thinking through your process, what are the major accomplishments that you need to knock out and so forth. Just a short little video on that. I found some templates that are in Word, Excel. I've even found some out in Google Drive if you want to take a look at some of those templates to help you think through the process. I gave us a real simple kind of basic template if you want to use this to lay out where you're going, but bottom line, purpose, objectives, and then what's the task, what technology resources do you need, when is it going to be done, and be able to mark it off complete when you finish it up. So just a simple plan, and you'll notice some of those other examples are, you know, they can get as big as you need or as small as you need. And the last part of this, once you kind of get your plan laid out on paper, want to know where you're going with it, and that's just to get a little bit of help, a review process for this. And I set up a discussion for us, and you can attach your scope document or just your project plan to it, whichever you feel like you need. And have a peer review it for you. Take a look at it. Make sure you're hitting all those things that we talked about at the beginning. Did you think about all those things that Leanne discussed in the last module before you laid out your plan? Did you think about all of the different pieces that your plan should cover from a more kind of technical project management standpoint? And I've kind of left that in the discussion for you. And like I said, hopefully you get somebody to review for you, and then find somebody else's to review as well. Maybe you thought of something they hadn't thought of. So hopefully we'll have all of our ducks in a row, so when we hit the face-to-face piece of this, you'll have a project plan all laid out and ready to take it to the last level. So it sounds really simple, right? Just build a project plan. I like the little graphic that I found, just start, project, finish. I always joke that, you know, some magic happens and then out the other side comes your completed project. But now comes kind of the hard part. Where do I put all my parts together? How do I get that final project plan laid out that I know I can accomplish? So good luck with it. I'll see you in the discussion room.